Audrey Hepburn is one of the most well-known actresses, but here's something you may not have known about her life before fame. Audrey Hepburn may have helped the Dutch resistance during World War II. What's shocking is that Hepburn's father was a Nazi sympathizer, as was her mother until the Germans killed Hepburn's uncle in 1942. In 1944, it is said that she met with a local physician who was a Dutch resistance leader. It is said she began to volunteer her dancing for the resistance, having secret shows to fund the groups. During an interview, Audrey said, "I did indeed give various underground concerts to raise money for the Dutch resistance movement. They were very amateurish attempts, but nevertheless at the time, when there was very little entertainment, it amused people and gave them an opportunity to get together and spend a pleasant afternoon listening to music and seeing my humble attempts. They were recitals given in houses with windows and doors closed, and no one knew they were going on. Afterwards, money was collected and given to the Dutch underground." Born to slaves and orphaned and widowed by age 20, Sarah Breedlove, also known as Madame C.J. Walker, managed to become the first self-made black woman millionaire in the United States. What did she do? She invented the first hair straightening formula and the hot comb. To get to this point, she learned from her role model, Annie Turnbow Malone. Annie sold Sarah shampoos and hair pressing irons. She hired Sarah, who soon split from her and began making her own pomades and shampoos. She met her second husband, who helped with advertisements for her products. In 1908, sales reached $6,672, which to put in perspective is over $100,000 in today's money. Within a few years, sales hit $250,000 or $4.3 million in today's money. She was one of the highest employers of African American women, all of whom worked on commission. After she gained her money, she donated to African American orphanages, old age homes, schools, colleges, and the new NAACP. It's no secret that F. Scott Fitzgerald and his wife Zelda had a rocky marriage. Something you may not have known, though, is that F. Scott Fitzgerald stole his best moments of his books from his wife. Pages from Zelda's diary constantly disappeared, and there are quotes from his book that are word for word from what Zelda wrote. After The Beautiful and the Damned came out, Zelda wrote, "It seems to me that on one page I recognized a portion of an old diary of mine which mysteriously disappeared. It seems to believe that plagiarism begins at home." Perhaps the novel that is most based off of Zelda is his most popular work, The Great Gatsby. In fact, there's a line that is oh so similar to something Zelda said.
"And I hope she'll be a fool. That's the best thing a girl in this world can be. A beautiful little fool."
What Zelda said? "I hope it's beautiful and a beautiful little fool." Oh, and might I add, he took credit for her short stories that grew popular. He wasn't kidding when he said she was his muse. Katharine Hepburn was the daughter of a doctor and a suffragette, both of whom taught her to speak her mind, develop it fully, and exercise her body to its full potential. At 9 years old, she said she went through a phase where she wished she was a boy because they had all the fun. She wanted people to call her Jimmy, and this is when she started wearing pants. Hepburn received an education at Bryn Mawr College and soon decided to become an actress. Hollywood was shocked when Hepburn would wear pants and not wear makeup. She was described as too masculine and too rough. Many considered her difficult to be cast opposite of leading men. People constantly tried to make her look and act more feminine, but she was always described as too strong.
I mean, I put on pants 50 years ago and declared a sort of middle road. You know, but I mean, I have not lived as a woman. I have lived as a man. How? And in a few, well, I've just done what I damn well wanted to, and I made enough money to support myself. And I ain't afraid of being alone.
While Marilyn Monroe is one of the most well-known Hollywood stars of all time, here are some things you may not have known about her. As a child, Marilyn lived in an orphanage and over the years had 11 sets of foster parents. She was dyslexic and had a stutter in her youth. While she never received a formal education, she had an IQ of 168. She also was quite the bookworm. She had a personal library that had over 400 books, and almost all of them were covered in annotations made by Monroe. She brought books everywhere and would frequently read on breaks of her movie sets. Monroe was also one of the first women to own her own production company. One other unknown fact about her, she had several affairs with women. She perhaps had the most emotional connection with her acting coach, Natasha Lytess. She lived with her for several years and brought her everywhere. She once said, "Miss Lytess made me free." Hedy Lamarr may have been known for being one of the most beautiful women in the world and one of the most well-known Hollywood stars of the Golden Age, but she is more than just that. Lamarr was a brilliant woman and an inventor. She is the reason that we have Wi-Fi, GPS, and Bluetooth. In the 1940s, Lamarr invented frequency hopping. This was a way to jump around radio frequencies to avoid a third party jamming your signal. It could have been used during World War II to keep the Axis powers from interfering with the ship's torpedoes. She actually donated it to the US military, but they shut her down and told her to get out, and it was never used in the war. Behind the scenes of her huge Hollywood hits, this is where Lamarr would make inventions in her trailer during her free time. So next time you connect to a Bluetooth speaker or connect to Wi-Fi in Starbucks, remember, it's all because of Hedy Lamarr. Most know Amelia Earhart for her tragic death, but here's some unknown facts about her wonderful life. The first time Amelia saw a plane at age 10, she actually wasn't that impressed by it. It wasn't until she worked as a nurse aide during World War I that she realized that she wanted to be a pilot. After watching the pilots and talking to them, she fell in love with the idea. After 6 months of training, she bought her first plane. Later in her career, Earhart wrote 16 articles for Cosmopolitan magazine about aviation and encouraged young girls and women to fly. She also designed functional clothing for women, which consisted of suits, pants, dresses, and hats. She even posed for Vogue in some of her outfits. Another unknown fact is that when Earhart married George Putnam, she wrote a letter in which she said that she wanted an open relationship. She wrote, "On our life together, I want you to understand I shall not hold you to medieval code of faithfulness to me, nor shall I consider myself bound to you." She also stated they could leave each other in a year if they weren't happy. They stayed together until her death.